Hi guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be showing you how to fit a battery to your Mk3 MX5. We'll also quickly cover how it differs on a Mk2 as well. Right, so starting in here, this one's got all the original fittings. So what we do first is remove the spare wheel to give us some extra room. It's nice and easy. Mazda putting this nice, easily undone nut in here.
With the longest thread in the world.
Yep, here's a bit excessive. So that just comes out, and then that just lifts out. Next, we've got the carpet that covers it up. On some it's a soft carpet, on others it's a hard one, but it all comes out the same. You've got a couple of poppers here that need to come off. There's also a small fitting in here that goes onto one of the rear light fittings, a little plastic nut that just needs to come off as well. And there we have the battery. So as I said, this one's got all the original fittings still. It's got a couple of additions with a trickle charger cable, and it's got an isolator in there as well. But all the bracketry and everything is still original. It's also got the original size battery in it, which is obviously we're doing a like-for-like swap, nice and easy. So the first thing you want to do is you want to undo the bracket first, just so you've got a bit more room, because if you look in there, it is very tight on the negative terminal, so it gives you a bit more room because you can pull the battery out before you start undoing anything. So it's just a 10mm nut on the top here. Do you want to make that quicker? With that undone, you can then lift the bracket out. It just hooks in the back there. It's got a hook on it, so that just goes in there. Right, with that undone, you can then sort of lift the battery out slightly just to give yourself a bit more room. There is a bit more cable in there. Mazda left a bit extra to make it a little bit easier. So the terminals are again held on with two 10mm nuts. Obviously, it's always ideal to undo the negative first. Save yourself getting electric shock. So this one's a bit trickier, because it's got the isolator on it as well. So that one's done. That's done. By the way, obviously when you're lifting a battery, you need to make sure you don't bridge anything between the two terminals. It gets very hot very quickly and makes quite a mess. So we've also got the standard vent pipes, which need to be they just pull off there, and there's one on the other side as well. And with that done, battery just comes out. So this one's got a isolator we just need to take off as well. These are sort of very handy if you leave the car for reasonable amounts of time. Just allows you you've got this little knob in here you can just twist just to quickly turn the battery off. Stops it draining whilst the car's sat for periods of time. There you go. Old battery out. As you can see, it said it's exactly the same battery that goes in, uses all the same standard fittings, so nice and easy. So, lifting, sliding it in. Before you get it all the way in, it's best bet to get the vent pipe on, because once that's in there over this back there, it gets a bit hard to get to, so just remember to slide that on before you get the battery in place. That one you can wait. So then get the terminals, put them on. Again, it's the opposite way around, so positive first, negative after. And terminals just get done up, just about hand tight really. You don't want to go too tight on these. That's that done. The cover goes back over, and then the negative terminal goes back on. It's probably going to put the alarm off again. And that one just gets tightened up as well. Right, so that's them both done up. So the battery gets slid into place. Other vent pipe goes on, and then bracket back into place. This can be a bit of a faff to get in. Always make sure the cover is on the positive terminal when you're doing that, so you don't touch anything you shouldn't do. It's nicely in there. It's nicely in there. There's a little notch in between the two vent pipe bits there that it sits in, so nice and snug. And this just gets again sort of hand tight, so just enough to make sure the battery's secure. It's always, you really need to make sure that the battery is always secure. If you don't put the clamp back on, there's a lot of cars that are missing the clamps, but you end up with lots of dents on the outside of this panel here, where you go around the corner the battery moves around, and where it's so tight against the quarter there, you end up with lots of little dents that poke out. So always make sure there's a bracket in there. It is also an MOT failure as well if the battery's insecure, so there you go, nice and secure, not going anywhere. Let me just tuck the carpet back in. That just goes back on. Thing goes back over the stud on the rear light there. And spare wheel goes back in. There we go. Right, so we've got a Mark II here. It's mostly the same. There is a few small differences. On the Mark IIs, the battery's actually located in the boot floor. That was done to free up some space. Obviously, you've got a nice big space there, where on the Mark Is, you've got the battery. So it's actually a bit easier on a Mark II. So you lift the carpet up in the corner here. You've got the wooden panel. This just lifts out. And under there you've got the battery. This particular car's had a larger battery fitted. You can see the bracket's all been bent out of shape, but it's basically enough there to show you the difference. The only real difference is that the method's the same, terminals are there. You've got your vent pipe to take off still, there and there. And to get the bracket off, all you need to undo is this 12mm bolt here. This just comes off and then it unhooks from there, and then you can get the battery in and out. Otherwise it's the same. Right, so we've got a Mark III here. Obviously you might have noticed we're now at the other end of the car. Mark III's battery's at the front. Again, the basics of it is pretty much the same. It's a bit more covered up on the Mark III. So you've got the cover here. First thing to do is you need to lift the hose out here. It just unclips and then just pop it to one side. The battery cover has got like a couple of tabs. If you sort of just need to pop them off, sort of here, and then it pops up. And then there's the same the other side as well, but you can just sort of lever it back and it comes off. So that lifts off nice and easy. So you've got your two terminals, again 10mm, and on the bracket that holds it down you have to, one side you'll need to undo completely, the other side you just sort of need to loosen, and then you can take the bracket off, and once that's off the battery sort of lifts out of that tray. It can be a bit tricky because it's sort of the same size as the box, but it just lifts out and the other one goes straight back in. And then again, it's just pop it back in, tighten everything back up and pop the cover back on.